Hey guys, in this tutorial we're going to be learning how we can add in opacity to the background image property, or how we can add in an overlay to the background image in CSS. So on the right side you can see that we have the background image, on top of which we have the text. Now the text unfortunately is not readable since there is no contrast. So on the left side you can also see that we have the HTML code, wherein we have a div with the class of container, within which we have a div with the class text, which holds all these text. Now in the CSS, what I've done is I have a bunch of CSS styling, and I have also added the background image inside the container. Now there can be similar situations wherein you need to add in something of sort some opacity to the background image, or some sort of contrast, so that the text is readable. So there are two ways which can be really helpful. Now, the first way has a lot of features, but it could be a bit lengthier. So to get that, first we need to add in position relative to the container, and then we need to add in z index of 10. Now you can add in whatever z index you want, but I have written here z index of 10 since we want it to be at the topmost layer. And then we want to add in the pseudo after element, so we want to write container and then we want to write the after. And since we're using the pseudo element after, you want to add in content as blank, and then you want to add in position absolute. So no matter what you use, if you use before, you still need to use that. And then we want to specify its height and width. So we want to take entire width of or the entire width of the container, so we want it to be 100% of width and height both. And then we want it to specify its position, so we want it to be top 0 and also left 0. Now we want to add in the property of background image, and we want to write here a linear gradient, since we want to have an overlay of some sort of different color, so that we have kind of like a contrast. So I'm going to use this, and then I'm going to write it right here to bottom, and then I'm going to specify two specific colors. So one is kind of a dark grayish type, and then one sort of like the blue color, and you can see that we have it here. Now there's a problem, we still cannot see the image. So to see the image, we need to place this after element underneath the container. So we want to write z index of -1, and now when we save, you can see that the text is visible. Now the best part about using after element to get this is that you can use the property of mix blend mode, which lets you add in all sorts of different filter or effect to the image. Now here I have written darken. Now when I save, you can see that on the background, all the buildings that you can see, they're kind of now more prominent since we're using this. And there's another, so you can also use difference, which changes the color. So let me just write it down. And so with this, it has kind of this red kind of color. So there's that. For the second way to achieve contrast or opacity is you need to add in just before the URL on the background image property, just before the URL where you have specified the path of the image, we're going to write linear gradient, and here we want to specify the color or how we want our linear gradient. So I've written here to bottom, and I've specified those two colors. And with this simple trick, we have the contrast between the text and the background done. Now there's one major flaw in this, is that you cannot use mix blend mode in this method. But all in all, if you only want a contrast, I think this is better.